What's up, traders? Welcome back. In this video, we will be covering last Friday, so Friday the 20th on Euro US dollar. As requested by some of you guys in the comment section, we would like to see the London session also covered, mainly because some of you may not be able to actually trade the New York session, or you trade both sessions and you want to see how it plays out. So in this video, I will do that. Let's start off with the daily chart. So as we can see, we had a fair value gap right here, and the fair value gap was filled immediately on Wednesday. So now I would be looking to target some liquidity, which is up here, and the candle is pretty close to that. So my bias for today will be bullish. In the future, I don't like to really predict far ahead in the future, but what we can probably expect is the price to fill up this fair value gap or just continue upwards with the momentum that we currently have in this very bullish market. All right, so let's move on to the 15 minutes right here, with our daily bias being bullish and long in mind. On the 15-minute chart, what do we see? I immediately see a lot of liquidity down here. Right? We have relative equal lows everywhere. We do still have some fair value gaps here, so we could see price step into that. But as soon as we take out these, let me also mark out that high right here. Also a pretty relevant level. Oh, that is actually the high from Wednesday. That's good. That could be the target for today. Okay, and let's just play price. We are currently in the Asian session, or the Asian session just closed, and we're now midnight. Let's see what we get. Right here, we actually sweep that liquidity was down there. But since this was outside of a session, we can probably expect that there's still more liquidity in when we get near a session. So right here, I would not really touch anything. I'm not in a session, so no real manipulation going on right now. Now this is interesting, and this is 15 minutes before the London Open, and we just took out this low. We took out all the liquidity. That's quite an interesting point, especially because of our bullish bias. So what we can expect is this to probably be targeted next, because there is no real fair value gap right here. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's a really nice bit of a sweep, and we are now in the London session. So let's hop to a lower time frame, even a bit lower, perhaps 2 minute, let's say. Okay, so what we can see is that we have to rewind a little bit, of course, right? So here on the 2 minute, and I noticed that this might be a bit cleaner. So we are now on the 3 minute chart, and what do we see? Actually broke structure here. So we have a market structure shift. That's criteria number 1 for an entry. And we then have a fair value gap. So as we can see down here, there is no real fair value gap. Perhaps here, no. Those are equal levels, so no real fair value gap. So where is the fair value gap? It's right over here. So at this point, we can actually take an entry from there. And since there is no real fair value gap left down here, I would probably set my stop somewhere like that, in that sense. And then for the target, we can go wild and target those highs, but I think these equal highs will be quite a decent point. Plus we are quite high up in the leg, so I would probably target this, or perhaps try to take 2.5R out of this, which is near those levels. Okay, let's see if we actually get filled here. We do. Immediately move up, and we have our profit. So let's actually fill that out right here. So we made 2.5R. And then we will see if we can still find another session before 5 a.m. Another trade, I'm sorry. I don't see any decent levels, except if we possibly take this level out. That could be interesting, but I don't see any decent PA now. And now it's 5 a.m. So that was it for the London session. So that was a nice 2.5R in the London session. So as we can see, we are approaching the New York session, and we already took out this low right here. So the liquidity from there got swept. And then immediately also take out this liquidity right here. This also being the London low, and actually the daily low. So that's quite an interesting level to have an eye on. I would immediately jump to the 1 minute and see if we can find some fair value gaps. As we can see, we just had a market structure shift, criteria number 1, and then we have ourselves a fair value gap. And if I look down here, we also have another fair value gap. So this one, and then I think also on top right here. So we have multiple fair value gaps. I would take an entry from here. So I would smack on an order, and I would only cover this point right here. And my target, pretty simple. Let's see, let's actually use the fit tool right here, because I see some decent swing highs here. Are really interesting. All right, so equilibrium is, let me correct that. Equilibrium is right here, as we can see. So this could be a potential target. That would be my target for partials. And then my ultimate target would probably be something right here. And why this level and not this level? As we can see, this high actually swept that previous high, which to me, and due to according to my data, it means that this high is likely to be protected. So what could happen is that price would actually have this level, could possibly tap into that and then return. So it would just not touch that high, and that's why I would target the one below it. Alrighty, so let's see how the trade does. Alright, seems to go great. Oh, I think we get stopped out here. Yeah. Alright, so we get stopped out. That's unfortunate. I'm probably not going to attack this swing right here again unless we see some nice equal highs form and then move up with a decent amount of displacement. Alright, this is actually a pretty clean move, but I'm going to not allow myself to take this one. Also, what I do see is that if I were to take this, let's say right here, and have the same target, I would just have my 2.5R. I would love to take partials here. So this is probably not a trade that I would be taking. Really slow price action as well. Honestly, if I would have been in that trade and I noticed that the price was meandering around and ranging right here, I would have probably immediately closed it, even if I was at a loss. I don't really like to see price ranging like that, because that usually means that you either had it wrong or there is more liquidity to be taken below. Because if we compare this to other types of setups like this one, price was relatively quick in its delivery, right? So as we can see, this was one really clean leg. If you compare it to this price action, this is just not interesting, not at all. See, right, this I call interesting motion. All right, let's go. Let's see. We took out these equal highs right here, which will probably be reflected on the 15-minute as well. Note that our bias is still bullish for today. So I would actually be waiting for price to now form some kind of structure, and for us to then spot a structural shift, and then I would consider taking an entry. Structure is starting to form. So what I'm looking at right now is this point. If we break that, I'm really interested in taking a trade. And we did, with decent displacement as well. So as for the trade itself, I will probably set my entry right here. My stop, let's look to the left real quick. Oh, I see that we actually have a fair value gap right here. My data shows that price usually, not always, but usually comes back to that fair value gap, taps into it, and then moves up. So what I will do to cover that is hang on to this candle's low right here, not the swing low, I don't need that. And I will expect price, if it were to come into that, I would expect price to do something like this. Tap into here and then move back up. So I think our stop is really decent, and if this fails, then that will probably mean that our direction for the day was wrong, and we just have to live with that. Right, so we get tagged into the trade. Ooh, we go, okay, we're still in. So as you can see, and it's crazy, right? How detailed its delivery is. It filled out that fair value gap, and now we are starting to move back up. There we go. And of course, we didn't really set a target yet. So what I will do is I will grab the Fibonacci tool once again, and now cover this low, and then we see that near our equilibrium point, we have this high right here, where I would probably be taking partials at. And then the point that I selected previously, I'm going to reuse that for this as a target as well. Okay, that's a nice 3.6 hour trade. I would probably take partials here, but for the sake of the video, let's not. Everyone has their own plan, right? As we can see, price is moving in our direction pretty nicely, and I think we get filled. There we go. That was it. We found our trade before 10 a.m., so that's good. We had one loss for the day. So let's add that right here. So 2.5 hour in London. Then we had -1 hour in New York. And then now 3.6, was it? Yeah, 3.6 hour, probably 3.5. Sorry, 3.5 hour in New York again. So if we add that up, we have 5 hour in one day. So that's really nice potential, right? And this is all using ICT Concepts. I'm not doing anything else. I'm also, of course, using the data that I gathered myself, which basically builds my trading plan and when to enter and when to not enter. Like, for example, I didn't enter right here, and I have a reason for that. My data shows that attacking these positions multiple times is just not really interesting. All right, cool. That was it. I hope you found value in this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. I would really appreciate you guys subscribing. If you have any questions or any requests for me whatsoever, feel free to leave them in the comments. And thank you guys. Thank you for the time. Bye-bye.